thank you very much for the introduction and for the invitation, particularly Salwa, the UNESCO Center, as well as the U.S. Consulate here in Barcelona for supporting my trip and the opportunity to be here. Apologies to begin with, my perspective is going to be a little bit broader coming from the national government perspective. And if there's two things that a U.S. government employee are tied to, one is our BlackBerry, and two is PowerPoint. So I am going to just do death by PowerPoint, just a few slides to help sketch out the background and the lay of the land of the current immigration situation, since most everyone here besides myself is a non-American. And then I'm going to go into some of our vision for integration and diversity. So let me see if I can make this start out. Okay, here we go. So just briefly to background, this slide pretty much shows you America's immigration history. It's commonly understood that we are a country of immigrants. It's something we are very proud of. We see here with the dark red line the absolute number of immigrants in terms of foreign-born first generation in millions on the scale on the left-hand side between about 1850 and the present day. The broken blue line is the proportion of foreign-born relative to the entire total national population by percentage. So we see that we had a great wave of migration to the United States in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This is the great Ellis Island tradition, where our foreign-born population peaked at about 14.8, 14.9% of the overall population. And then, quite contrary to our beliefs and the understanding of the openness of our society to immigrants, we had actually a series of very restrictive, what we called national origins quotas that went into effect in 1924. A virtual moratorium on immigration to the United States through 1965. So we see here both the absolute numbers and the proportion of our foreign-born population decline. Unsurprisingly, in an era of civil rights reform, with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we also had an Immigration Reform Act in 1965 that did away with the discriminatory origins quotas and truly opened up our immigration system to people from countries all over the world. And we can see then, since that time, that we've had a great increase in both foreign-born and proportion. We're currently at 38 million foreign-born immigrants in the United States today. Overall population about 304 million. 12.5% of those of that total population are foreign-born. More recent trends we're seeing, not only are we getting more immigrants coming to the United States and are likely to surpass that historical 14.8% mark in the next 15, 20 years, but immigrants are going to new places within our country. So we have 6 traditional gateway states. These are these dark blue states: New York, New Jersey, Florida, Illinois, California, and Texas. The so-called traditional immigration gateway states that have welcomed immigrants for well over a century. What we see here, the numbered states, the ones in the southeast, in the central plains, and in the northwest, are where the actual change in foreign-born population between 2000 and 2006 was actually greater than the influx to those traditional states. So we see really since the late 1990s a big shift in where immigrants are going in the United States. So unlike the assumption that, yes, we've done this forever, and in the case of New York City, we have welcomed immigrants forever, places like Columbus, South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, Portland, Oregon, and Las Vegas, Nevada are very new gateways that are welcoming immigrants, much like Spain is, only in the past 10 years or so. And this pie graph gives you a perception, really, of who is foreign-born in the United States. Unsurprisingly, 30% of all immigrants are Mexican. A huge population of our foreign-born comes from just one sending country, a very large country on our southern border. Another 23% of our foreign-born are from Latin American countries. And then we see, of course, a large growth more recently in Asian migration to the United States. So this is just to paint a picture of the diversity that we see among our foreign-born population, with ever-decreasing numbers of Northern Europeans. So that pie chart was the foreign-born. This is the overall population. So this is basically to show you that multiculturalism in the United States is not a policy, it is a reality. And these are the demographic numbers derived from our Census Bureau, which show that, in fact, we have championed ourselves as being a multicultural society. We will truly be one, a nation of minorities with no dominant racial, ethnic group by 2042. You see here that the white Caucasian population in the United States, and this encompasses native and foreign-born, will drop to below 50% of the population. So we will have no dominant race, ethnicity, if you will, in the United States. You'll also notice significantly that the largest growth is driven by the Hispanic Latino population in the United States. Mostly at this point are actually the children of immigrants, so the native-born American citizen children of immigrants driving this population shift. I'll leave that up as backdrop and now go into what I wanted to discuss a bit more, so over PowerPoint at this point. My role in the department is a very narrow one. So we understand the security background that we all come to in this room, in this building, of course, and the increased perception since 9/11 in particular. But my policy question is much more than creating diversity, is actually a recognition of the diversity and multiculturalism we have. How do we move forward together as one society in the United States? And how do we have a framework that is comparable so that we can continue to profit from this diversity and to continue to be successful as a nation? So this awareness of a security enterprise, really, which was brought into existence most forcefully, obviously, in 2001, has caused us to re-ask what our actual aims are. So a vision of a homeland security enterprise for the United States, and I use the term enterprise cognizantly. This is not just government. This is enterprise of all stakeholders in society, is a safe, secure, and resilient homeland where American interests, aspirations, and way of life can thrive. So what's interesting about this statement is not only do we need, in order to achieve security, strong and resilient communities, but we also have to protect the civil rights and civil liberties that make us a unique democratic society. So why do we do this? The welcoming tradition of immigration to the United States is not just a reflection in itself of those founding principles of our Constitution and an American identity that is not based on race, ethnicity, or national origin, but it actually also provides national and community benefits in increased security and prosperity. So to translate, we welcome immigrants, we want immigrants. We understand that immigration has enriched our country throughout our history and is something that is a positive both for the individual and for society as a whole.